But let's see which maps we're going to be playing on, whether or not those will favor either of the two teams, and whether or not we'll see some good mix-ups in maps as well. Bank and Clubhouse first to go, and we'll see what the two picks are going to be.
Bank and Club taken out, and picks still waiting on. Is Penta picking Oregon?
All right.
Really?
I mean, that has been a much better map for them overall compared to some of the other maps, but in Pro League, for example, they tied the 2 times they played on it, so it's not like a stellar map for them, just kind of a decent one, but that must be down to what they see as weaknesses in the way that Nora-Rengo are going to play it as well. So we will see Nora-Rengo, though, picking Coastline, which is a very good map for them, and not as good of a map for Penta, so both teams definitely trying to look at their strengths, although, again, I feel like maybe Penta trying to look for some weaknesses in Nora-Rengo. But, of course, you know, the bans come down as well. Maybe Penta wanted Clubhouse, and, of course, Nora-Rengo banned it. They might have to go for a second choice. But our decider will be Border, which should be good at a map, but especially for Penta. So that has been a very good map for them in general. So it should be, I would say, very interesting to see whether or not these two teams have learned a lot during this, because you only get so much time overnight to really review VODs. You're going to be a bit exhausted from the previous day's games. That's where you're going to depend on coaches. You're going to depend on sometimes even the captain of the team to kind of review those with the coach, depending on the structure of the team, to really kind of figure out what do we do wrong? What can we do different? Because when you end up in a rematch situation like this, you can't afford to make the same mistakes again. I mean, you also can't afford to make new mistakes either.
I'm also very surprised that the decider came out as Border, considering the amount of tape that Penta have put out there just in this tournament alone in the last 2 days on Border. They've played it twice in both of their games. So when you have the option to go to a map that neither team has played on Villa versus a map like Border, there's a lot of chances for some tape to be watched there. But take a look at Oregon, the win-loss draw, and the ban rates for both of these teams. Nora-Rengo 2-0 on Oregon, banning it out once. And Penta, like I said, Oregon was a bit of a surprise for me, considering it's a fragger-heavy map. 3 bans, a 2-2-1 record currently. Yeah,
and the one time they played it in Pro League was against Mocket, and they did win that. So, I mean, they've been fairly strong on this map, on the decider as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see whether or not either team takes their map, because that is always kind of a big issue if you let the other team take your map. Like, say, for example, it's Nora-Rengo taking Penta's map, then that puts them way worse of a position in that now all of a sudden they have to work their way back, whereas the other way around, you know, it's not as big a deal. We'll see how things go here on Oregon as we start the ban phase. We'll see who gets banned, whether or not we're going to see some of the usual suspects or some more creative bans coming out here. And that is Maverick going off first. That should be interesting, especially if somehow we end up with some other bans that might involve hatch play, for example.
Maverick, pretty common operative to be used on Oregon, and there goes the Glaz. Interesting that a Ying ban does not come out, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a pretty common ban for this map, but honestly, if you feel like you have a Jaeger that can really deal with it, or you can stop them from burning your ADSs, or even just stay in positions where those Candelas don't really affect you too much. I mean, also, you could be a situation where you don't expect them to play it a lot, and you might not really struggle with it too much, but I think most teams in general do not care to play against those Candelas if they think that's going to be a problem for them.
Well, I just bring that up because in the first game, the initial game between these two teams on Border, which is a map that will be played as the decider should we go 3.
Yeah.
That,
to be honest, that's likely to happen. Some good replays, though, from a good match so far.
Oregon turns out to be quite the level-headed contest between both teams. And honestly, that's what we've been seeing a lot lately out of Oregon throughout the SI is very, very close games, usually resulting in an overtime game and usually resulting in a tie at the half, which cannot be said for a lot of other maps, surprisingly. But incredible individual efforts coming up from Nora-Rengo. It just seemed like the team play there and the coordination and understanding of how to pick apart Penta's setups wasn't quite there. The surprise plays and the individual plays were there in spades for Nora-Rengo, but the teamwork and the cohesion, the chemistry working together to complete one goal, that is where Nora-Rengo were lacking.
Yeah, I felt like more often than not it relied on the Ashe player getting the job done. I mean, there was a bit of that on Penta's side as well from Glaz, but we saw both Waka and Mary trying to play that role. Waka being a bit more effective on it, but again, it just, as soon as that didn't accomplish what they needed it to, it seemed to stall out to or at least get in. There's always plenty of European teams to make it in here, but it is extra special to be the ones to make it in with Fnatic for those final stage event matches. And you have to win your map here, obviously, to stay in this, but also it's just a point of pride to win your map here, because you picked this for a reason, and you picked a very risky map. As you can see, it is a decent one for PENTA, especially compared to Nora-Rengo's record on it. So you gotta have something special in mind. But you see how many times it was played by PENTA means also a bit more footage on it. I mean, yes, it's only one more time, or no, 2 more times rather. That still, you can't assume that they're going to play it any time, anyway similar to what they've played it before. Most teams are going to be coming into this somewhat expecting what the map picks are going to be, but with the ban pick system, it is much harder to corner the enemy team into the map picks you want, because they get a chance to pick a map so early before you can start to ban as many. So Coastline is going to be a wild card, I think, for me, because I'm slightly favoring this not going all the way after what we saw so far, and just how Nora-Rengo haven't looked as collected as I would expect from them.
Yeah, it seems like, again, they're relying on that individual aspect of their team more than the teamwork that got them to where they are currently. I still think Coastline is a map that will favor them, honestly, with their aggression and their ability to make those individual plays. I think PENTA will have to be extremely cautious of their surroundings at all times, because at any given moment, a member of Nora-Rengo might just be jumping out a window, a door, or a balcony. Try and claim your life early. So, a Glaz and a Ying ban.
Well, there's the ban against Hungary, finally. This is a map that he kind of made it famous, though. More so than Oregon.
Also, Hungary wasn't even playing Ying last game on Oregon, even though it was available to him. So, obviously, flexing his flexibility.
Well,
Speaking of flexing, there goes Valk, and Echo was also the third ban.
Well, that's 2 intel operators, as we like to call them, off the board. Of course, Maestro's still available, so that's... And as soon as he finishes that, immediately hits a goo mine right after getting adrenaline boosted to cancel the adrenaline boost and slow him down right out of a sprint. So it was just... I mean, not to say it wasn't well played by Nora-Rengo, but I think PENTA played themselves in that last round.
PENTA had more than a couple rounds where they probably should have walked away with the win, and they beat themselves more than Nora-Rengo beat them. So, unfortunate ending there for PENTA, as they were within arm's reach, and honestly, a finger's reach, of sending themselves to the playoffs, to getting out of group stage, to going to the main stage. And yet, we now find ourselves on map number 3 on Border.
Well, I think so far we've proven the function of the losers bracket isn't to determine who the losers are. It's to determine which teams are going to have...
honestly, just the back and forth nature of these two teams, it's hard not to say how closely matched they are. They are unbelievably close. And wow, I was not actually expecting that. So, Nora-Rengo currently holding a 4-0 undefeated record on Border. And it was Nora-Rengo against PENTA on Border, in which Waka decided to go out and have a lot of fun with some runouts.
Yeah, I must have looked at the stats backwards, either that or maybe we have this play backwards, because that was the opposite of what I had and why I was saying it was so PENTA favored, in that I had the stats as 4 wins 4. PENTA, either way, it is a good map for both teams.
Someone's undefeated and has a lot of wins on Border.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
Both teams want to be here. They wouldn't have let it through. So I guess that is the important conclusion to be made from that. But we'll see.
6 seconds, all I hear is some of those players back there screaming for all they're worth.
You know, with it being the end of the night like it is all about channeling as much energy as possible. So I mean, you don't want to slack here, right? You don't want to give up an inch, and well, I suppose screaming is going to help with that. Whether that be screaming in pain and hoping for it to end, or screaming for the aggression to come out and tear someone a new one. There we go. Kalaz getting banned next. And we'll see what it's going to be coming up after that for the first defensive ban.
So it looks like doing some checking there, the overlay was reversed. It is PENTA currently with a 4-0 record on Border.
So we'll see if that continues here. Echo going off next. I suppose we could see a chance of a Maestro going as well, but more than likely going to be Valkyrie, I suppose. Although there are some other options. There it is. So the Habana going is interesting considering how much thermite is useful on every bomb site. So
pushes in through the backside of Archives. Oh, bad push in there from Waka and Ramu down to a 1v2. The plant is still not going down with 4 seconds remaining. Finally, Raysil, but Pilia on low HP is the cover for that. Plant is going down in Archives, I imagine, as we whip and turn back in behind the bomb, and Pilia is run off to Narnia as Raysil will cover from inside of Fountain. 1v2 here for Hungry to work his way out of. He's got one prone hitting the deck in Fountain. He's going to fashion himself a quick little rotate, and he's going to find out that the diffuser has been planted in behind the desk as opposed to the far side of Archives. Crossing will be an easy lockout there for Raysil as Nora-Rengo salvage a round that was heavily in their favor to begin with. They almost threw it completely away.
I gotta say, the big thing that didn't work out for Penta there was most of Waka downstairs was just kind of getting to run freely, although the hatch getting open there is certainly going to make him wonder what's going on and force him to use a grenade to try and do something about it. Might do I was going to say a bit of damage, but instead deletes Hungry from the game.
Picked apart by Revon and a flank coming out from enemy into CCTV as the clash. Slow going, but he will turn his head towards 2, and that will be 1 falling in his hands. It'll be Waka collapsing in pain, and Blas will respond back with Papilia. It's Gravestone. Thermite charge being placed up by Raysil as he's alone. Mario has completely abandoned him, so they're in separate 1v1s as Mario's in the middle of the objective, and Raysil just trying to push in through radio desk. Finally peeks his head up, and Blas will rip him apart, trying to flick for 2, and Blas will collect all the heads of Nora-Rengo, and again, this rather immediately. And okay, here comes Waka, ripping straight into ventilation door and dispatching of enemy. There's only 1 man left on site, and that's Revon, stuck at the server beneath the plant, whipping straight out on a pre-fire as Waka collecting on some shots, and finally putting Serbos in a grave. Wow, there's a lot of soft destruction inside of. Oh! Bait, kill holes in the floor, and Hungry from down below will rip through Waka. It was actually the bottom of metal stairs, it seems like, but now contesting inside of lockers, and there goes enemy in a trade out from Papilia.
Doing enough droning to get ready for that kill, and he definitely would have accomplished it, but Mario, oh.
Back and forth once again, and Blas in behind circle monitors will get 1 before being immediately traded out. Can you sense a pattern? Round, it's Ramu inside of detention. Pre-fires from Serbos will at least claim 1 victim in Ramu on a trade, but a 1v2 to work out of on very low HP. Still has a nitro cell in hand, which could be beneficial if anyone steps inside his purview, or maybe on the floorboards above him from CCTV where someone might be playing, but looks like Serbos is preoccupied with other intentions, and it's a rappel upside down right now. I believe this is from Papilia, as Serbos is going to try and stick this in the corner, and he'll fall off, hearing the telltale signs of that M762 ring out. And it will be bells of death ringing in his ears. Papilia will clean things up, and once again coming out from Nora-Rengo now, Revon wins it out through the soft wall onto Papilia, down to 5 HP. Pulling out the cardiac sensor, identifying that there is another one ready to claim his life in a heartbeat. Mario, though, will dispatch of enemy on the opposite side, leaving Hungry alone inside the small office, and a 5 HP Revon to fall in the hands of Waka. Hungry in a 1v3, grabs one right to the wall onto Mario. 1v2, reloads the SMG, pre-aiming to the wrong spot. Ramu will rip him apart. It's a 4-1 lead for Nora-Rengo, and you hear their screams abound.
I think at this point, the screams are not even just so much to pump them up. That is going to be there to intimidate Penta.
Waka fell through the hatch. Raysil will start getting the plant down, and oh, what a shot by Hungry while stunned, but plant goes down. Revon with a nitro cell will level things closer. But Waka still has bottom control. Hungry and Revon pressed right up against each other. Ramu will rip right through the pulse, so leaving Hungry alone once again in a clutch situation. He will fall. Nora-Rengo 2 rounds away from the grand stage of being the second.
I feel bad, but Penta, good night, sweet prince. It's over. It is now down. The screams will only increase. I can only imagine.
Kizoku knows what I'm thinking. One more round where they want to go, because even they seem like they have no clue.
That's what's throwing everyone off. Oh, what a start!
Mario.
Blaz already down.
Out, trying to jump in and facilitate a revive will be, or enemy outside desk window, and Ravon will jump in with an asphyxiating bolt. They get Hungry back up, but oh, another amazing shot from Mario, immediately traded out by Hungry on 50 HP. Papilia pro stairs. It's a man disadvantage currently for Penta as they try and push on through this onslaught. No, Ramo shot down from below with the shotgun. Serbos an enemy. Last remaining hopes for Penta in the 2019 Invitational. Walk in, break on Canadian operator, fells another on Canadian soil. An enemy will drop in as Serbos is felled, angling in. Oh, Racel loses the gunfight, but it's a 1v2 with 13 seconds. Stuck on the rotation! Papilia sends Japan's representative, Nora-Rengo, the second APAC team, past the group stage for the first time in Siege history. We will have 2 APAC representatives in the final 8.
So after the success we saw for Nora-Rengo and Fnatic in Rio, they repeat that success. Regardless of how much farther they make it from here, I think it is time to stop with any underestimation of APAC, at least for those 2 teams, because they have both proven they have what it takes to be within the top teams of the world continuously. Fantastic.